Welcome to Shed the Debt. I'm Patty Lovett-Reed. We're going to focus in on real estate. And today joining us from Royal LePage, broker owner of Your Community Realty. It's a big deal. Vivian Risi. This is one of the largest owners in Royal LePage when it comes to brokerages. And so she knows a little bit about what's going on. So first, Vivian, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Patty. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I follow you and admire your messaging daily, and I think you're amazing. It's really fun that I can be part of this program.
Oh my gosh, I'm absolutely delighted that you are. And okay, just for the record, it's the Mutual Admiration Society. For those watching, we follow each other on Instagram and make comments. And this is a classic example of women supporting women. But that is a podcast for another time, which I'm definitely going to delve into because she's also written a book, Yes, You Can, which really is empowering. But we also want this discussion to be empowering. So, Vivian, you're the expert. Can you break down what is going on in the real estate market right now?
Right now, what's happening, Patty, is consumers are sitting on the fence. Everyone's just waiting to see what's happening with the interest rate. Obviously, we've had some interest rate drops, which has been very encouraging. And everyone's expectations was going to be that the market was going to pick up in the early spring. So our developers, builders were getting all their product ready to launch. And then the elephant in the room is the elephant in the room. It's not happening right now due to the uncertainty in the marketplace, the uncertainty with our jobs, with our livelihoods. This is what's happening right now. So people are just holding on and waiting, but at the same time, there's transactions still taking place. And it's with those people that are motivated that are, I wouldn't say taking advantage of the market, but there is a lot of opportunity in this market as well.
Well, I would think that there probably is. When you look at inventory, how would you describe inventory levels? Are people motivated to sell, though? They may not be motivated to buy during periods of uncertainty.
And that's a great question. Right now, the inventory level is low when it comes to, providing homes for the consumer. Whether, inventory, we're going to talk about rental inventory, we're going to talk about ownership inventory. They're relatively low. And this is why the builders, the developers are ready to launch all this new product. And now they're holding back. Why? Because of the cost of construction, the potential tariffs that are going to affect the cost of construction, and also the ability for the consumer to be confident to get back into the marketplace. So we've got the investors also that play a big role in our market, Patty. We need the investors. We need them. We need the consumer and the investors to stimulate the market. So this is what we're dealing with right now. And I really believe that it's going to happen more, it's going to be a delay. But going back to the second part of your question, with which is
Mhm.
buyers and sellers, well, people that are buying right now are buying at a very reasonable market purchase price, but they're also getting interesting, like very good interest rates. So if they go on a variable rate versus a conventional, these are the advantages that they have right now. And you're dealing with the consumer being in a position of a buyer's market. So it's a buyer's market where they can negotiate. And I love negotiating. I think this is something that is really great because we lost all of that when the market was hot. People
Yeah,
weren't
well,
able to
Vivian,
negotiate.
we have to go back and talk about when the market was hot.
Um,
Because if you think about it, during the
yes,
pandemic,
yes,
rates were lower. They were almost guaranteed for a period of time.
yes.
People were jumping into the market, prices were pushed higher, but it really was the real estate market that propped up the economy because there's that knock on effect as well.
Absolutely. Well, remember when COVID hit
Mhm.
and they announced, their lockdowns and we were all, abiding by these lockdowns. But then real estate was considered an essential service. So I immediately got back on a Zoom with my agents and said, listen, you're working. This is an essential service. Well, how are we going to show houses? Well, we're going to have to get creative, aren't we? We're going to have to come
Virtual.
up with virtual. So we now embraced the technology that was always there, but we really embraced it. So it really did save the economy because once that market, and it really got hot, by the way, you saw what happened
Oh,
during the
oh,
pandemic.
yes, I did. Yeah.
Everyone was at home on their phones, scrolling away. And They can't go out and, take vacations. They couldn't go out for dinner, so they're going to be looking at their home. Some people wanted a bigger house because they had the kids living in the home, or they wanted their kids out of the house, get them into a condo. All these decisions were being made around that time. So everything went over the top when it came to consumer buying.
So when you think about everything that did go on at that point in time, with interest rates going lower, let's assume that the Bank of Canada, a couple of big investment or I guess economic shops on Bay Street have outlined that they see rates going down. We could see as many as 4 cuts when it comes to the Bank of Canada. Let's talk about like a 2% rate. Are you Put you on the spot? Are you variable or are you fixed right now?
Me?
Not you personally, but you know what I mean. What are we telling people?
Well, I think right now I would say to people, if they're not worried about taking a bit of a risk,
Mhm.
because they have to take a bit of a risk if they want
Yeah.
to go on variable. Go on a variable.
Yeah.
Because yes, the
Makes
buzzword and the talk out there is the rates are going to come down.
right.
So take advantage of that. Go variable. If you don't want to take that chance and you have a family, you've got a fixed income, you don't want to jeopardize and you can afford to fix your rate and say, I don't want to think about this. I want to have peace of mind. Then our rates are, very, very reasonable considering what we went through in the past year, a year ago.
Right.
So yes, I would say take that little bit of a risk and go variable because we can take advantage of those rates coming down.
So on the other side of that then, Vivian, given the fact that, we know a vast number, shall we say, of mortgages come up for renewal, and some still feeling that sticker shock from the initial purchase back during the pandemic, are you seeing an increase in foreclosures or, just a basic inability to renew at higher rates?
Foreclosures is a little bit more. It's a harsher process. Foreclosures, and then there's power of sales. I'm seeing more power of
Can you
sales
explain the
than
difference for us?
the foreclosure is when they take legal possession of your property. Basically, that's foreclosure,
Mhm.
and the property is sold, and the mortgage, people are holding the debt will take the property and whatever comes out of the sale.
Yeah.
Whereas power of sale, there's a process. A power of sale process is a little different. It takes a certain length of time. You get notices, they give you a chance to pick up the default. Then you get notified by registered mail. There's a legal process. Usually takes about, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, I believe. That's usually the power sale process. And that is when the property is evaluated by, well, our process is three different opinions of value or appraisals that are done by the banks. And they then list the property to ensure that the consumer is not being taken advantage of. So they want
Right.
to make sure that the property sold at fair market value because anything over and above what is owed on debt should go back to the consumer. So that's the difference between foreclosure and power of sale.
All right, so given that landscape, if I could ask your response to someone who is in a difficult situation where you may have then a financial institution or what a lender coming after you to suggest that you're going to, be going through this process, at
Mhm.
what point do you reach out for help?
I think you should really reach out for help the moment you start falling into arrears.
And so arrears, is that like, would we say 90 days? Is that considered arrears?
I would consider arrears on a consumer level. If you're behind a month to 2 months, I consider that arrears.
Okay. Yeah, you're
Okay.
not making the
And at that
payment.
stage, if you're in arrears and you can't afford to keep up your payments, the next step is you're gonna have the banks asking, we want to or want our money. And then there's interest that's charged on top of all of that. And then legals that are incurred as well. So my advice would be to look at long term because like real estate is a financial future investment. And you got to look at your asset. This is an asset that you have. So
Right.
can you hang on to this asset? You did so much to purchase this property. You put equity into this home. Can you hang on? So this is where you start investigating, getting a professional opinion, getting professional opinions on what your next steps should be. Do you renegotiate with the lender?
Mhm.
Do you, to get a longer amortization? Do you, do you try and rent out a portion of your home? A lot of people are doing that to increase their revenue to help them
Yeah.
pay for these debts.
So
So a lot of people are considering that, and it's been something that's really been working.
oh, absolutely. If you're a business owner and you're wondering, given the landscape out there, your business, is it still viable? And you have real estate of which you have to make payments on. What do you, is it different? Would you call that a different process?
If you're a business owner and you got to make payments on your, is this a residential or an owner, a commercial,
A business itself where you're operating a business.
and you're
Yeah.
finding yourself
Like
stranded.
you're stretched. You miss a payment, you still think it's viable. Do you reach out and help in the same sort of timeline?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even more so as a business owner, I always like to look ahead. My mother, father always said, "Don't wait till the water comes up to here." You know,
Yeah. Yeah, my mother says the same thing. Yes, I get it.
But really, don't wait till you are in dire straits. If you start seeing the signs, the cash flow is not coming in, you're being affected, your business is being affected, start strategizing.
Mhm.
Strategize early. Start like plan A, plan B. I've always got plan A and plan B. Plan A is, we modify. Plan B is we take stronger measures. And what, again, I would do, and I've done, is I look at my financing. Where can I cut back?
Yeah.
Can I cut back on anything that will help me retain this equity, this piece of real estate that I have? Or can I rent out a portion of my building? If I'm a business owner and I have all this space, can I sublease some of my space? Can I, what can I do here? Or can I have extra income coming in on on my owned properties that I can utilize towards paying my arrears? So there's many things that we can look at. We all become very complacent.
Yeah, like explain that. Do you really think given everything that's going on, Canadians are sort of going, all right, steady as she goes?
I think Canadians are in shock right now.
Mhm.
I don't even think majority of people are not even thinking about, their path. They're more in shock of what are we going to do if? What are we going to do if? And then the ifs become a fear factor. Then once you start getting that fear factor,
Mhm.
how do you know what happens? You're not thinking. You're not thinking clearly,
Emotional.
and that's when people start making, decisions that are not maybe proper for them at the time. And this is where you've got to reach out to professionals. You really need to. I mean, it's difficult to say, "Hey, I need help," but I would say that would be the advice that I would give a business owner that's running into cash flow difficulty. Look at your plan, see where you can cut back. What are your expenses? I mean, even personal. I mean, we all have to, look at our personal spendings when everything's great, everybody's having a great time, vacations,
Yeah.
extra a party, they go they buy a nicer car. We all do that, don't we?
Discretionary
But
spending.
then
Oh, yeah.
we always spend more than we make. I mean, listen, I remember being in the market way back in the 80s,
Yeah.
1989, when the market crashed. Similar, very shocking. And the interest rates went up to 19%.
Mhm.
I have the records in front of you, but I think it was close to 90. I know it was high. Everybody,
Yeah, it was.
our houses, I think the equity or the prices of our homes dropped about 30 to 40%.
Yeah. Oh, I
Well,
do recall that. So
remember that.
before I let you go, rather looking through the rear view mirror, we look at where we're now at and
Yeah.
what is your outlook for the spring market or moving into the fall?
My outlook is for the spring market is really stay on top of what's going on in the market. Keep your ear to the ground. Look at what's happening with the interest rates. Look at opportunities. There's always a silver lining. There's an opportunity. If you're thinking of buying, now's the time because people that are selling are really motivated to sell.
Mhm.
So now's the time to get into the market and go on a variable rate. That's what I would advise the buyer that's buying a home to live in. And I really do believe that people should be getting, advice from realtors, mortgage brokers, anyone that they can say that they trust to guide them through the process. If you can't afford to buy in a certain area, there's other locations that you can afford to buy in. But
Right.
I look at real estate as not just it's very important to create like a home for your family, but I look at real estate as a retirement.
Yeah.
I really believe real estate is equity built for your future retirement. I say to my
Yeah.
agents, you work in your jobs to make a living, that you buy real estate to make your fortune and your retirement.
So
I believe
I would argue then that if you are in a difficult situation, an individual or a business where you're not in a position to make a payment, it is in your best interest to reach out to all of the experts that Vivian highlighted, but I would also add to a licensed insolvency trustee who could act on your behalf, go in, negotiate costs, and get you through this situation where you may not be forced to sell.
absolutely, Patty.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Vivian, thank you so much for joining us. She is with Royal LePage. She is the broker owner of Your Community Realty, which, by the way, is one of the largest they have. Thanks for joining us.